everybody, and welcome to Let's Look at the Swindle, a steampunk cybercrime caper. Well, if I had a penny farthing for every time I said those words, I would be, well, I can't think of another Britishism to put there, and I should probably stop anyway to avoid offending people. The Swindle is the new game from Size 5 Games. You may or may not, notice that I'm going through puberty. You also may or may not know the company name, but you may be familiar with their other games. In particular, Time Gentlemen Please and Been There, Dan That were point-and-click adventure games that have a very positive reception on Steam, like literally very positive as far as the Steam reviews go. And they came out maybe like 18 months ago or something like that with Gun Monkeys, which was a multiplayer. It's almost like Cobalt, the game that Mojang is still publishing, I think. You know, like a bit of an arena, like 2D side-scrolling gun combat game. Competitive Metal Slug, sort of, is maybe how I describe it. The Swindle is the first game that I've spent from them with any meaningful amount, or spent from them that I've spent a meaningful amount of time with. I played about an hour, probably about an hour and 15 minutes of this if we're really going to split hairs. And this is, it's in early access. It's going to be, I think, 14 or 15 American dollars when it's actually out. The promotional pricing ends tomorrow. I know I sound very professional right now. The Swindle is a side-scrolling stealth action platformer with roguelike elements. Think of it as a little bit like Spelunky meets Mark of the Ninja. That's probably the easiest way to kind of like merge two games and have it work. Now, it's a little uneven. I really love the idea of the game, and I love parts of the execution. I love parts of like the basic gameplay loop that go along. There are some problems that I think need to be fixed, and that's kind of why I'm making this video, is not to, you know, finger wag the developer and be like, look at though, this is why this doesn't totally work for me yet. But rather, because this is in early access, it's still fluid, it's in flux. It has a chance, if it actually, I think, makes up for the problems that exist in the current build, to become something that's actually quite special. But we'll talk about that as we get going here. So, the basic premise of the Swindle will be handled in this exposition right here. It's obviously like a little bit of an alternate history, kind of Victorian steampunk era thing that we've got going on. Basically, we're fighting back against government surveillance, I think, is what I have pulled from it. In 100 days, Scotland Yard will activate their breakthrough artificial intelligence technology, codenamed the Devil's Basilisk. Its surveillance capabilities will be total. If the project is completed, your career as a master burglar will be untenable. Well, okay, so we are fighting back against, like, government surveillance, but also we are a thief. So maybe the surveillance is not a bad thing for us necessarily, but you gotta do what you gotta do to make a living, right? So you have 100 days. This is kind of the artificial time constraint that is almost like that Invisible Ink style 72 hours or XCOM, you know, you gotta do the mission before the enemies or the aliens take over the entire world. You'll notice right away it has a really cool visual style. It looks a little bit Spelunky-esque, but it also has kind of like a discourse vibe to it. You remember that survival adventure game from Alchemy Games? It's got kind of like a little bit of a papercraft sort of style mixed with that steampunk aesthetic and a little bit of, you know, Victorian architecture and you know, grime thrown in that you'll see once we get actually into the level. I think the art and music are actually really, really good. Also reminds me a little bit of SteamWorld Dig, I guess, but that's, again, there's a lot of steam going on. Basically, we play as a thief, and we have some pretty basic objectives. This is or pretty basic abilities, I should say. This is our airship, which serves as our base of operations. Basically, in the build right now, you have a calendar, which tells you how many days remain, and you have a workbench. The workbench basically serves as your upgrade store. So you gain money from doing heists, and then you use those heists to buy things, like, for example, double jumping, or faster movement speed, or wall clinging and wall jumping, or thieves are less likely to alert any nearby bots with auditory capacity. Okay, so I haven't gotten far enough in the game to handle bots that have the ability to understand sound. But anyway, also I think this one gives you the ability to survive falling from great heights, which is important because sometimes that does happen to me. Hold jump as you fall to remove the danger of crushed limbs and a failed heist. You also have abilities like hacking, and then there, you know, break through walls. You can upgrade your goggles so that they can actually show you how much sound you produce and stuff like that, and tools like bombs and smoke bombs and etc., etc. I haven't gotten many of these because they are quite expensive, you know. $25,000 is a lot of money within the scope of the game. Let's start a new heist here, because we're about to experience the basic, I know this is kind of a buzzword for me to be using right now, but the basic gameplay loop of the game is quite short. You know, you get these levels, they're procedurally generated, there's cash on the ground, and there's an objective for you to heist, usually a computer or something like that, if you have the hacking ability. So, you know, we get in here, and our basic goal is to not get detected by the guards, and also to pick up as much money as possible and then leave. Now, we can kill the guards if we want to, but our basic premise is to just, you know, get undetected and pick up as much money as possible. So this Spelunky vibe really comes down to the fact that the game has these procedurally generated levels that, you know, by themselves are not very long, but then it also has kind of like an overarching campaign happening at the same time, which, you know, each of these levels kind of feeds into, you know, the same way that in Spelunky, you know, caves 1-1 or mines 1-1 might not be that integral to your actual chances of success, but, you know, it's part of a bigger overall picture here. So these early levels, until you get the hacking ability, which costs 100 pounds, they don't really have much to do. You're going to be spending most of your time just trying to avoid detection and making sure that you get as much money on the ground as possible. But you only have 100 days, so you want to kind of maximize that, you know, efficiency curve. And we'll be able to get a couple of upgrades, at least over the course of the video. Again, I think it looks pretty nice. There's a lot of stuff going on in the background. Does a good job of, like, staging, good atmosphere. The principal problem that I have with the game is kind of twofold. And the one that I want to talk about first is the controls. And if you look at the Steam reviews for this, you know, I shouldn't say that I'm happy that the Steam reviews echo the concern, because that means there probably is like a genuine problem that affects a lot of people. But it's at least vindicating to be like, I feel like the controls are not that tight, and then go on, and a lot of the reviews are like, I like the game, but the controls just feel loose and wonky. It does not feel satisfying in the same way that a Spelunky feels satisfying, or Mark the Ninja, Super Meat Boy, Mario games, stuff like that. Like, your character feels really, really kind of sluggish and unresponsive, and, you know, it's partly... I feel like I'm just gonna buy the hacking upgrade here. It's meant as like almost to, they're starting you off low so that you have the ability to get better through these agility upgrades, but you are so bad at the start. And I've gotten a few of the agility upgrades, and it hasn't really turned me into like a potent thief or assassin or something like that. And maybe that's for immersion's sake, to be like, well, you're not some kind of superhuman, but it feels unsatisfying from a gameplay perspective, and perhaps even worse, a lot of the time, it does feel like the deaths that you get in the game are the control's fault, not necessarily your fault. So we have the ability to hack now. So the hacking... Oh, whoops. The hacking minigame here is pretty simple, but it is, in a way, maybe good that it's simple. It's not something like, you know, Watch Dogs, where even though that puzzle was relatively simple, it also led to... you know, it would mess with the fact that the game moves at a very frenetic pace. I think the design of the hacking puzzle is totally fine. But, you know, ignoring the controls for a second, this leads to what I feel is the second problem with the game that is holding me back a little bit from being like, yeah, this is an amazing game right now, is the pacing. So we were on this level for, I don't know, like 30 seconds, but you notice that when we hacked the computers, we got like 700, 600 pounds per computer, whereas the money on the ground was literally only like 22 pounds. So we're getting 30 times more money for hacking a computer that we get for picking up the money on the ground. So it leads to this... like, really, like, hit it and quit it. I hate to use the term, but, like, really, I'm just going into these levels to find the computers and then getting out as soon as possible. Again, you could probably argue there's some realism there. You know, a real thief doesn't dilly-dally once he has his overall objective, but it creates this really weird kind of, I don't know, this gameplay loop where basically you just walk in and you find the overall objective, you hack it, which is probably not going to be much of a problem, as you can see right here, and then you could just leave. I mean, there's 2 computers on this level, so it's going to be a little tougher. But it means that, like, what's the point of even having the money on the ground? If, like, those... that money right there was worth 8 pounds. This is going to be worth, like, probably literally 90 times that. Yeah, we got maybe even more than 90 times that. What's the point of really, like, going over here and trying to make sure that we get, you know, that money over there that looks very dangerous because there's, you know, 2 guards in very close succession here. Also, occasionally, you know, I like that it's procedurally generated so that we don't end up getting the same levels over and over and over, the same layouts, but you do end up with situations where you have, like, one guard stuck on a platform between spikes, and he just, like, goes back and forth. It makes him very, very tough to hit. Again, maybe it's just an argument of get good, but at the same time, I'm like, well, you know, there's no incentive to go over there either, so I guess why would I? It's fair to say that, you know, in Spelunky, avoidance was like a real tactic. You know, if you found an enemy that you didn't want to deal with because you find them annoying, then, you know, it's a valid technique to just avoid them instead. Here, I don't know, it feels kind of weird and almost maybe exacerbated by the fact that the controls don't feel like it's really always an adequate translation of what I'm trying to do actually ends up happening on the screen. It just seems cumbersome sometimes, especially when we end up dealing with more difficult enemies. But we're still in the relative early game here, so, like, very much in the early game. So I've got 3,000 pounds here. We could upgrade maybe our hacking abilities of sorts. This menu, maybe it's just, like, not designed to be played with a 360 controller or something, but, like, in my gaming lexicon, for me, it's like, of course we use the 360 controller, it's an action platform, but, you know, other people may feel differently about that. So let's pick up a slate of agility upgrades here because we can. We'll get extra movement speed, just so you can see that it's not just like you start super sluggish and then all of a sudden become superhuman. We'll get wall jumping, and it's not really wall jumping, it's more like wall clinging for level 1, but that's okay. And this allows us to be a little bit more, I guess, adept at what we're doing here. And basically what we want to do is, you know, get through all of the sections of the game. Each pass costs us a little bit more money. So now we have the ability to cling to a wall. There you go. All you got to do is get on the wall and then press in the opposite direction. And we have the ability to double jump as well. Again, a little sluggish. We get introduced to some different enemies here. We have these sentry bots, like the ones with the barrel on the bottom of them. They can't attack us. I mean, I haven't even really talked about how you fail a heist yet, but we will probably just naturally come upon that. They have no ability to attack you, but they have a very large vision cone so that they can spot you and sound the alarm very easily. We have our basic guards, which you've already seen before, and then we have these, like, I don't know what you'll call them, like recon drones or something like that, the ones with the police hat that are, like, have the single unicycle wheel below them. They're very, very slow, but have a very, very large vision cone, which means that, you know, they're a little cumbersome to deal with. See, like, this freaking, like, chimney is so small here, I can't, I wanted to drop straight down, but it really feels like it's not possible. Instead, you have to engage in the slide here. I guess what we should do is just kind of cling to the bottom. So, I mean, you know, it's always one of those things where you're like, are the controls suboptimal, or am I bad at it, or maybe a little bit of both? Oh my god, I ruined it. It just, like, the controls for whatever reason don't feel satisfying to me, and again, I'm not glad to see that I'm the only person, or I'm not glad to see that I'm not the only person that feels that way, but it does mean that there's probably, you know, it's symptomatic of there being a larger problem. So how do you fail a heist? Well, you fail a heist by dying, which is one way that it happens a lot. Or, well, I guess fail the heist by dying is the only way that you fail a heist. You can die either by taking a large fall or falling on those spikes, for example, or if one of the police bots actually hits you, then you can, oh, I didn't realize that actually there's other constables that can be, like, dropped off. But yeah, if one of the police bots hit you, you die. When you die, you respawn as a new character, but you don't lose your abilities. You know, any money you have in the bank is saved. All you lose is the money that was in your pocket at the time. So the money from the current heist, basically. This is one of those situations where I've had the game for, like, maybe 2 weeks now. I have played it for, see, like, I don't know how you get through this guy. I can hit things from this angle, but I don't know if I can hit this dude. And there you go. Again, kind of like that, I feel like is suboptimal level generation. Whether you place blame for that on the game, or you just say, you know, it's part of the, you know, doing business here, you know, you should have avoided that instead of trying to deal with it. That's up to you, I suppose. But I was like, am I even going to do a let's look at it right now? Because I don't know if it's necessarily, I don't want to say, like, worth exposure, but more like, I'm not having that great of a time with it, so maybe it's just better for me to wait till it gets a little further in development. But the impetus for me to do the video is that I think that this has a really great potential for the game to be great, if that makes sense. The design of it is fantastic. The idea of, like, a stealth game with roguelike elements, kind of like something like Invisible Link, basically, or Mark of the Ninja. Like, Invisible Link for the more campaign and kind of, like, pacing structure, Mark of the Ninja more for, obviously, the fact that it's a stealth action platformer. It's a really good idea. Like, stealth is, I don't want to be, like, you know, oh, I got seen through the freaking window. I don't want to be like Ari Gold or something like that, but stealth is pretty hot right now, you know? We've got, Dishonored 2 coming out, and Invisible Link was very well received, and oh, I fell on the spikes. XCOM 2 is coming out soon. It's not really stealthy, but you kind of get the idea. Tactical, in any case. How much money do we have in the bank? Funds available, 4,000. We might be able to get... Actually, you know what? Let's do one more heist, and then we'll probably have enough to buy our pass to the warehouse district and keep moving on here. But it's just like the somewhat shoddy controls, and I actually don't necessarily feel like that's an improper use of shoddy here. Like, oh my god. This is my own idiocy coming into effect, or my own impatience at least. Those guys are not going to be able to get to me, even though they're going to spot me with the vision cone, so we might as well just, you know, be content with this right here. I say we, like, finish this one and then just do another level right away, because I think we need 5,000 to buy the pass. It might only be 3,000, but I'm not sure. But this is what I mean, like, if we can go into the level, even if the alarm sounds, we still got 80% of the cash. So we missed out on, like, I don't know, 150 pounds or so. Pardon me, 150 pounds or something like that. The consequence for being spotted doesn't seem that huge. Maybe we missed out on, like, a ghost bonus or something like that. I've never gotten a ghost bonus. I imagine that's, like, kill no guards and get spotted by no guards. Occasionally we get slow-mo. I don't know if that's, like, a perfectly timed attack or something like that. It just feels like right now, there's not really that many consequences to failure, and perhaps even moreover, like even when you die, like miniature failure, of course, when you get spotted, but it doesn't even really seem like it's a huge deal if you die. You lose the day, which might end up coming back to bite you in a couple of hours, but I don't immediately feel like super negative consequences, and I feel that's one of the things, like, making it feel like there's weighty consequences and rewards is one of those things that's going to be integral if this is going to have the kind of pull that a game like Spelunky or Mark of the Ninja will have. Also, I can't stress enough that the controls, again, you can argue that, and I don't think the developer is making the argument that it's like, oh, you know, we have to, oh, it's only 4,000, but anyway. I don't think the developer is trying to make the argument that, like, oh, we want you to feel like you can't do anything when you start, so then when you actually get the abilities, you'll feel really good. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. If they are, I feel like that is kind of compromising some of the quality of the game right now, because it's just not as satisfying. Like, it's kind of unsatisfying, unfortunately, to play. Okay, we got some locked doors here. Still come in through the window, though. So I feel like that's something that needs to be worked on, or it needs to be ironed out, let's put it that way. Maybe it controls better on PC, I honestly don't know. And it's a little frustrating because the other, like, elements of, maybe the money is worth more on these levels, but the other elements of a fantastic game are in here. Like, visually, it's already striking and interesting, and it's got a cool design to it. I think I can get away from that mine before it explodes. Yep. We might even be able to use the mine to blow up the door. And it's so close to having, like, well, they're only worth 32 pounds. It's not that much more. It's so close to having a, like, a satisfying core gameplay principle. It's just not quite there, because anytime I find myself, like, feeling like a master thief, it is, definitely the exception rather than the rule. Simply because it, as of right now, just feels like, oh, there you go. It feels too clumsy and kind of cumbersome to do what you want to do with it. I'm just gonna see if maybe my mine, yeah, blows up those guys now, which it does. So that's kind of cool that you can hack the mines and make that happen. I actually didn't know that hacking the mines also made them friendly towards, or they made them friendly towards you, but also aggressive towards the enemies. I didn't know that. And it's clear, like the framework for a game is already in here. Like, this is not like we're suffering from too little enemy variety or something like that. I mean, we've been playing for what, like less than 20 minutes, and we've seen 4 or 5 different enemy types here, and a lot of different levels, and we've already progressed through like one world of the game. Like, those elements, the iterative elements, are already in here, it feels like, and they're designed just fine, you know? Sometimes I might get a little annoyed watching this guy take like 20 minutes to do his patrol here, but that's kind of like, you know, part and parcel of what you get with stealth games. Oh, also these drones apparently have miniguns attached to them now. That is a little scarier. Okay, we made it. 72 pounds in that cash bag. So now I'm like, okay, 72 pounds in that, that's a little bit more worth the time investment, I think. Might as well hack this. We don't get experience or any... I guess maybe I moved a little bit too close to it while I was hacking it. That's my bad. We only lost 336, so that's not too bad. I think we need to buy bombs to be able to get through these locked doors. We'll see if we can get like a really good haul or something here. I've never seen this robot before. This scares me. Oh, I've never seen either of those robots. There's like a snail-type robot down there scaring the crap out of me. Yeah, so like the reason I bring this up, it might seem like I've been pretty negative in the video, and I sort of mean it like that. Like, I don't think it's a bad game. Oh man, I don't know how we're gonna get into this one. I don't think it's a bad game. I think it's a great game in waiting. That is right now being hampered by the fact that the controls feel kind of clumsy. Like, I don't know if it comes across in video very well, but like the jump feels weird, and I don't know. Sometimes, you know, you press jump and it just doesn't work. It feels like, you know, I don't know. I know making good controls takes a lot of work. You know, I've made some simple prototypes and shit like Construct 2, and I oftentimes end up with controls that sort of feel like this, like a little sticky. They don't quite do the job the way I want them to. I can't believe that that actually worked. I don't fully know what I'm gonna do down here. Also, I'm sticking to walls I don't want to stick to. Yo, spiky snail man, what are you doing here? I don't think I'm gonna be able to get through any of these doors anyway, like... Oh, Lord. That guy does have spikes on top of him. I suppose I should have expected that. Maybe we should have, heisted a little bit more in the slums before we went for this area. But I gotta do at least one more heist, because apparently this guy is me. How much does it cost us to buy bombs? 5,000. Your thief can carry 3 bombs. Let me see if there's something for, lockpicking. This is actually, like, basically the furthest that I've gotten. What about, this one? Coating of strong insect resin on your thief's skin will prevent light impact injury. Okay, that's not really what I was looking for. So we are probably looking for bombs, I guess, unless there's a lockpick ability. Remote detonates, that's not it. No, okay. Well, let's do one more in the slums then, and we'll get, you know, a few thousand, or probably like a 1,000 for that if there's 2 computers. But, yeah, I feel like the game is very close to having what it needs to succeed. It's just not quite there yet. Like, it's lacking that core element of satisfaction that makes games like Mark of the Ninja really fun. Like, Mark of the Ninja was so fun because you really felt like a badass ninja at all times. Like, that was the feeling they were striving for, of course, but it also, you know, ended up working out very well for them because as you're playing it, you're like, I feel like I am an actual ninja here. Like, I see something, I envision something, and I can do it. Oh my god. I feel like you can do the same thing in the Swindle. I know it's striving for kind of a different, you know, gameplay feel as well. But you can do the same thing in the Swindle, but your plans often fail for reasons that unfortunately feel somewhat out of your control. Like, yes, I fell on the spikes there. I probably don't need to tell you that I was trying to press jump. Maybe I pressed it a little late, but come on, work with me a little bit there. It's hard to illustrate in video what makes controls frustrating. And I'm not saying, oh, woe is me, because it's even harder to make controls that work well. But anyway, this is the Swindle. Most of my time in the game has been, you know, having a couple frustrating deaths in a row and being like, oh, I burned through too many days. Let's go start anew from 100 and try to do it perfectly this time. So I definitely do, like, almost that trials thing of, like, I made a mistake, let's start again. It's an interesting game, and I do think it's the shell of a game that could be really, really interesting, maybe even great. It just needs a little bit of fine-tuning, for me at least, to make the controls work as tightly as they need to work for you to be able to execute a plan with precision. And I guess that's the problem, especially when you have these procedurally generated areas where enemies only have like a quarter of a second where they're not looking where you need them to not look. You know, you need to be able to get in there and do what you need to do quickly in order to actually make your plan work. Otherwise, what's the point, right? Like, it's just gonna fail because of, you know, kind of clunky controls. You're sticking to walls you feel you shouldn't be sticking to. You know, you're taking fall damage when you thought you clung to the wall. You know, you press double jump but didn't get a double jump, and it put you in front of a window, which allowed an enemy to spot you and sound the alarm, compromising your abilities. Like, basically, in a game like this, like a stealth game's precision and tact and deliberateness are important, and I sort of feel like a couple of the elements of the Swindle are compromising that. But it's really one of those things where it's like, I feel like this is like a great sandwich, but, like, where's the bread? I don't have any bread. How am I supposed to eat this sandwich? I'm gonna get my hands dirty. If you pull out, or if you brought out 2 slices of bread and put the game between those 2 slices of bread, the metaphorical bread here, of course, being tighter controls, you would eat the sandwich and say, this sandwich is pretty good. It's interesting. I've never had, you know, a pear and brie sandwich before. What a novel idea. So, I don't want to seem like I'm bashing the game too much. In its current state, it is a little frustrating to play, but it really has the potential to be quite interesting, I think, if it can nail making that, if it can nail making movement satisfying, which right now it isn't. But for now, I hope you enjoyed the episode. I will put a link in the video description below for you to check out the Swindle on Steam if you're interested. If you are, again, I think it's going to be, I guess it's 15 American dollars when it comes out. Or, like, as of the time this video comes out, because it's been out for a week on Early Access already. Or maybe a month on Early Access already. But anyway, yeah, if you enjoyed the episode, click the like button. It helps out a great deal. And, of course, subscribe if you want to see more in the future. But for now, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.